Hello everyone, I am Mayuri, a software engineer at Atlassian. Welcome to today's much awaited and requested session by all of you, the Google Girl Hackathon or GGH in short. So, this hackathon is a program for all women in computer science and related fields all across India, and it aims at helping students showcase their coding skills as well as leverage their knowledge in building innovative solutions to real world problems. So, I will be your host for today's session. And now, let me introduce you to Pakhi, who's one of the winners of GGH 23. Hey, Pakhi, first of all, congrats on this big, well deserved win, and welcome to today's session. I'm sure the audience today is pretty excited to hear you and your journey. So, let's begin with a quick round of introduction. Meanwhile, guys, we'll have a live question and answer session at the end. So please keep pouring your doubts and queries into the comment box and we'll take them up towards the end of the session. Over to you, Paki.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Pakhi. I'm a final year CSC student at Sardar Vallabhbhai National Institute of Technology. I was the winner of Google Girl Hackathon for this year. Apart from this, I've also interned as a software engineer in Atlassian this year and Flipkart last year. I was also the winner of JPMC Portfolio for last year and was selected as a 24 LinkedIn coach in 22.
That's amazing, Paki. Such a lot of achievements. Okay, so coming to the topic for today, that is the Google Girl Hackathon. Let's briefly walk about the selection procedure, and let's begin with like when do the forms open and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, as far as I remember, the forms for this year opened in May, I guess, and they asked us about our basic info and a resume, and this was all in the interest form. After this, round one was conducted, which had two DSA questions, and like these questions were different for everyone. There were some sets, and they gave some sets to someone, and then some sets to someone. And then the selection for this round was based on a performance in DSA as well as the resume. So, and then after this, there was round two, in which there were two learning cohorts, in which the GGS team had basically divided the selected participants from round one in different cohorts according to their, performance in the previous round. So after the end of this round, again an OI was conducted in which there were two DSA questions, and then we were told basically before this round in the learning cohort that we will be evaluated on the DSA question, like how well we were able to solve it, as well as how much learning we were able to apply from the cohorts in this round. And after this, there was ideathon round. In the ideathon round, they basically introduced us to the problems they wanted us to solve. Like for me, it was AI based, so solving environmental problems using AI and stuff like that. And then they had given like some themes. Like there were some sub themes in it. Like there were three problem statements for us. Yeah. So the participants basically had to select one of the problem statements and then develop a solution on that. Then yeah, after that there was just selection on the basis of whatever we had submitted in the solution summary document, and then there was the final round. The final round was just a presentation round where we had to give a demo and then present our PPT in front of the jury of the judges.
Okay, so like there were a lot of rounds. Let's break them. And coming to the first thing that I remember, there were DSA rounds,
Yeah.
learning cohorts, and presentation rounds. So my next question is: was it an individual participation or that was a group one? Also, are there any restrictions limited to specific branches, colleges, stuff like that?
Yeah, so like this time it was an individual participation as far as I remember. Last year was the team participation, but this year it was individual only. Yeah, and so for like restrictions, there were some restrictions like only bachelor's, master's, and integrated dual degree and related courses within computer science itself were eligible to apply only, and there was no as such restriction on the years. So as far as I've come to know, they had divided people based on their year as well. Though I'm not sure about this.
All right. Okay. Now, just to add on to it, does Google provide any hiring opportunities, whether internship or full time, through this competition?
For this year, they haven't really provided us with any info regarding the hiring opportunities.
Okay, all right. I think earlier they used to provide you something like this. Okay, coming back to the rounds. The first round comprised DSA based questions. So, how many questions were asked and What was the duration of contest, and what was the difficulty level in general?
So for the DSA round, in the first round, there were two questions. I would rate them as medium hard, and then
Okay.
the total time given for us to complete was 1 hour.
All right, all right. So how did you prepare for this round?
So I actually regularly practice DSA, majorly through code courses and lead code, and sometimes code chef and ad coder too. And all the questions were basically similar to it, so it was not much of a problem for me.
Definitely, I agree. Consistency is really helpful. So, coming to the next point, are the participants judged like solely on the basis of coding contests that they hold, or like is there a resume screening as well?
Uh, yeah, so like the participants were judged on the basis of both OA round as well as resume screening. So it might happen that you don't perform very well in OA, but then sometimes the resume makes up for it, which was really the case for me in round one. I wasn't able to solve much. I ran out of time.
All right, all right. This definitely indicates that having a shiny resume helps to stand out. So, that brings me to the next question. Are there any one or two liner tips that you could think of on creating an eye catching resume?
Sure, yeah. So I would suggest listing out your accomplishments basically, like the main event, scholarship, or any awards that you have received in bold and point wise, and highlight those like scholarship names so that whenever there's screening of resume, the recruiter is able to see all the highlighted points first, and then also add stats and ranks wherever applicable. Like if you were selected for some program, say you were in top 15 out of 1,000 people who applied, so you can just list it out like that top 15 out of 1,000, and then yeah, and wherever applicable, if you have just listed out any projects or any such thing, just provide a link to it so that it
Agreed.
seems more you know
Okay, so coming next to the learning cohort that you spoke of. So, what was it all about, and what were you expected out of it?
Learning cohort basically intended us to teach some skills to level the playing ground for all the participants. That what they told us. There were two learning cohorts. The first one was art of writing idiomatic code, in which we were taught how to write idiomatic code in any language and how doing so will make the process of understanding and debugging easier for the person who is reading our code or who will be working after us on that code base. And then the second was pattern recognition in DSA. So this workshop basically focused on recognizing what kind of patterns or what kind of algorithms we can use to solve a particular problem. Just by looking at the problem, you know what techniques you can use, stuff like that.
All
And then
right,
they expected us to learn and then apply these skills in whatever project or work we were gonna do further.
got it, got it. So, after that, you had another coding round as well, no? After the workshop. So, how was it different from the previous one?
Actually, it was very similar to previous round. This two had two questions in 60 minutes time limit. And then it also had medium hard difficulty level. From what I've come to know, this round was actually pretty different for some people. Some people had given MCQ in this, but for me, it was only DSA. And then, so the only difference I could find in this was they expected us to apply whatever learnings we had gained from the learning cohorts in this round.
All right, okay. So, I see. What were the preparation strategies as the competition grew, like, immensely challenging since there were like a fewer number of candidates and everyone leveled up?
Yeah, so I was interning in summer. I didn't really have much time to prepare for the OS. So what I used to do was I used to note down the questions from code courses and solve them on paper in my free time because I didn't really get much time to code it out. I just hoped that it was the correct solution and then just checked out the editorial in the end. Most of the time it used to be correct. And then, yeah, basically this is what helped me maintain my thinking skills.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's a really helpful strategy, I would say. So, like moving to the Idithan round, what was the primary focus of it, and like how did the challenges further intensify?
So the primary focus was on developing solutions to the growing environmental challenges using AI for my problem statement. And then there were sub themes in it, and then participants had to choose one of them and develop a solution using AI/ML for this one.
Okay, got it. So, how many days were you given for executing all of this, and were you allotted a mentor for the same, or were you like left on your own to develop solutions?
Actually, we were given, I think, approximately 5 days or something for this round, and then there were last 10 hours or so for the submission. So like it was like they gave us the problem statements on Saturday something, and then they expected us to submit it on Wednesday, I think, by 10 a.m. in the morning, something like that. And then yeah, there was no mentor allotted, and all the participants had to work on their own, gather their own resources.
Got it. I see that the team revolved mainly around AI and ML. Were you previously like familiar with these? Had you done a project or something? Or how was it for you? How did the journey go?
Actually, frankly speaking, I haven't delved much in AI. But I have had these courses in my college, so I was pretty familiar with the theory and some of the methods, such as random forest, linear regression, logistic regression, and all such like basic stuff. So, but then again, I had to read up on the methods and extra theories, like advanced methods. Like there are some like LST, which are particularly used for time series data sampling and stuff, and then um, so I read up on some research papers to get a grip on all these advanced methods, and then I just gathered which all can I use for my own particular solution.
Yeah, I see. Like then this brings me to the next question. Since you were not very familiar, how did you manage them to like understand the concepts and implement them in such a small span of time?
So I took some advice from the people who were interning with me in Atlassian. They were data science interns, so they had more knowledge than me, obviously, in this field. So then I asked them how can I do the implementation of the idea and stuff like that, and they suggested me that I should first find and prepare the data set and then make the model. So I then accordingly divided my time in like of five. Like we were given 5 days, so I divided it into three parts. First part was for research, which I gave I think around 2 days, and then data gathering and preparation took another 2 days, and then for model making I kept just one day because they said that it won't take much of a time. Then I kept the last 10 hours for the preparation of PPT. Sorry, not PPT documents for this submission. So, like more or less, adhered to this timetable, and I got ample time for research, which helped me in understanding the concepts in depth.
I see. That's a really good strategy. Now, like coming to the next question, what resources did you use to learn like these new topics, and what approach did you follow during the implementation phase?
I read up research papers mainly and noted down the methods that were being used in them. So, at first, Google the research papers very that were very similar to whatever I was thinking of doing, and then like learned whatever algorithms or models they had used and stuff like that. And then I used to Google all those methods and algorithms separately, and then read up on it. So the primary resources that I used for this was Analytics India and Medium articles itself. Then again I follow the protocol that was being followed in most of the research papers. I In the end I just took 3 4 models and then compared them to choose one which was giving me the best result. And then there was also some feature selection stuff that I did in pre-processing.
I see, thanks for sharing all of that. Now, coming to the last phase of this, how were you required to submit the solution? Was it a presentation or the entire code? Like, what was it all about?
In the Ideathon round, we were basically required to submit solution summary document. So this solution summary document was a template that was shared by them. It had a lot of questions like what was our idea, how did we do the implementation, how do we plan to take it to the next level, what were our data sets, and then how will we expand it to the global level, and then what, like, basically it was kind of a lot of questions were based on product thinking side. And then apart from this, we also had to submit the uh, code for the solution, whatever we had done, and then prepare a README and then submit that as well.
Okay, got it. So, what all points did you keep in mind while submitting the project? What would you want to share, like with the viewers, how to keep it precise
Uh,
and simple both at the same time? Yeah.
Yeah, so Google Girl Hackathon team themselves had shared some pointers on which they were going to evaluate us. And so I framed my answers accordingly. So I also do some flowcharts for my idea implementation so that viewers could easily understand what was going on in my model. And then I also tried to list as many details as possible in each answer. A lot of them were quite repetitive, but then it like I kept it so that it gets reiterated every time what I was trying to do. Then I actually also kind of did everything backwards. I first implemented the solution, which included a lot of data visualization, which in turn helped me frame my answers for a lot of questions since it was easy to see which part of the solution was necessary and why.
I see. So I agree, like making an attractive presentation that engages the viewers really well, like it walks the extra mile. Okay, so like let's talk about the D-Day. That is the final presentation round that you had. So how did you prepare for it, and any particular style that you followed for framing your solution?
We again were given roughly 4 days, I think, for the preparation of the presentation and then making the final submission. So I divided my time slots in two parts this time. That is, first one was making the improvements in our model as well as some additions. And then for the final presentation, I kept roughly around 1.5 day. I also included a part in my final model, which I had left for future scope in my ideathon round. Apart from this, I also added some minor front end and back end to present it as a full solution. I made the presentation once my demo was ready, and then they had also given us some pointers for the presentation. So I kept them in mind for making this presentation. I presented the ideas, impact, etc., as diagrammatically as possible, and made sure to keep the presentation uncluttered from them to read easily. I also prepared a script slide-wise and covered the main points.
I see. That's very helpful. Now, like, I would want to know that how the jury panel was distributed and was it on site? And also, like, did you have to present the working model, the working demo as well? And you know what kind of questions were asked? I know there's a lot of questions. Maybe you can like chunk them down and cover them up. Yeah,
So, yeah. So there were 45 panelists, and we were divided into groups of 15. In my group, there were four judges and one host who is handling our presentation and demo. And then this one was conducted remotely. Yeah, the video of the working prototype had to be presented in the demo, and then the questions were different for all participants. For me, they were geared mostly towards what all I could have added in my future scope, what all I was thinking of adding uh, had I much more time, and then how do I intend to make it better, and why did I choose to use social media as a part of my project and not just use images from the satellite and stuff like that.
I see. That's interesting. So what strategies did you use to make your presentation look effective?
Uh, as I mentioned earlier, I made sure to include the diagrammatic representation of my idea in the form of the flowchart. And then I kept the presentation as simple as possible. I didn't add too much design and things like that. And then I also took care to explain my idea and then its working along with its impact and future scope in as few words as possible in the presentation. And I added as much picture and diagrams as possible was in the PPT. I also took care to craft my presentation according to the evaluation rubrics that was given by them. As far as I remember, the evaluation rubrics were something along the lines of, I think, technical implementation, impact, and potential. And I think there was some presentation and communication. Uh, and then again, I also prepared a small write up with slide wise for the presentation.
Got it. So, like, when was the results declared? How long did you have to wait?
I didn't actually have to wait for much long. My presentation was the last presentation of the day. So I think between the declaration of results and my presentation, there was a gap of an hour at maximum. But then
Okay.
the first participant had to wait for a long time, approximately 2.5 hours.
I see. That's awesome. That might have been like a real heartwarming and an unforgettable moment for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, one other question that I want to cover here, like, how did you deal with the last moment anxiety and any kind of performance pressure on the D-Day during the time of presentation? How did you cope up
I
with it?
I actually didn't. I
Okay,
just
that's good
didn't
to hear.
think about what I was gonna do and how I was gonna achieve anything or whatever. I just stuck to whatever I had prepared earlier. I answered all the questions in the spur of the moment, and for me, it was basically more of like a discussion rather than question and answer. I had already thoroughly enjoyed the process of developing the project from scratch. Frankly, to be honest, like I never expected that I will be able to complete this, and then and I had already completed it, so I was already on cloud nine. That oh yeah, I was able to develop this whole solution in 1 week, and so I guess that was enough to keep me relaxed. Maybe enjoying the process is the way to go.
Definitely. Now, coming to what did you learn in the entire journey? Maybe you could sum it up in a few lines for everyone to know.
Yeah, so I've become more comfortable with stepping out of my comfort zone. I also learned how to properly do research, the importance of documentation. I'm more interested in it now than I was before. And then how we can use AI to solve a lot of problems. And then, yes, of course, the most important point is that trusting the process and then enjoying the process because it's never about destination, it's always about the journey.
Definitely, it's always about the journey. So true, Paki. I can completely vouch for this. So, this next question for you: how did you manage your internship, college academics, and the hackathon all at once? What are your suggestions on, like this effective multitasking?
I actually didn't have college in that time frame. I used to complete the internship tasks in the office hours itself, and then I used to work on the project in the rest of the time. I'm also a night owl, so it wasn't really a problem for me to stay awake till 3 4 a.m. in the night. And my internship usually started from 9 a.m. and was remote, so it was enough time for me to get good sleep.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. I would stress on what Paki said. Sufficient rest is also extremely important. So, Paki, do you have any other tips, tricks that you would like to bring up for others?
Yes, so from whatever my experience has been, I can tell that research is important. So research what is expected from you, like what they want you to implement, and then read up on already implemented solutions for the task. It kind of good gives a good idea of how to proceed and what are the judgment metrics. Like suppose for my model, I got to know that taking the absolute mean error would be a good metric to judge its accuracy, and then also try to present a fresh perspective on work, and then like work on problems that are severe but they don't have any solution yet.
Hmm, I see. So those are amazing pointers and so well put. So that was all I had in my question bank to shoot up to you, Paki. Let's now quickly open the floor if and see like if we do have any questions the audience might have for you. And please like post your questions in the comment section. Let's quickly wait for 1 or 2 minutes before we can wrap up the session. So that was all we had in the store for today, guys. Like once again, thanks for being here, Paki, and explaining everything in such a detailed manner. And like wishing all the best in your career. And like thank you everyone for joining this session. I hope like it was detailed someone for you and this helped you gain some context around GGH. So to follow up on our social media handles for more such content. Thank you everyone and have a nice day.
Uh, I would uh, like to say that I'm extremely grateful to Codex Cafe since I always used to miss out on opportunities when I was not a part of it. And then I've also had a lot of help and support from the seniors of Codex itself. Like I used to interact with seniors who had won the previous CGH on LinkedIn. They were of Codex, and yeah, without whom it would have been impossible to achieve this feat. And, yeah, so I would like to thank everyone for everything.
Okay, thank you so much for being here, Paki. Thank you everyone.